I always believed silence was not weakness, but awareness. Growing up, I learned that people often reveal more when they think no one is listening. So I learned to listen carefully and speak less. This habit followed me into my adult life. And eventually into my marriage. My husband Kenji was calm, educated, and respected by everyone around him. And together we looked like the perfect couple. I left my country, adjusted to his culture, learned his routines, and slowly reshaped myself to fit into his world. But there was one truth I never shared with anyone, not even with him. I spoke Japanese fluently. I had learned the language long before I met him. It was something personal, something powerful, something I kept quietly with me. Kenji believed I only understood a few polite phrases, greetings, food, basic conversation. And I allowed that belief to remain. Because sometimes keeping your strength hidden feels safer than explaining it. One evening we were invited to a dinner at his colleague's home. The atmosphere was warm, people were laughing, switching between languages, enjoying food and wine. I smiled, nodded, and stayed quiet as usual, playing the role everyone expected from me. At one point, I stepped away briefly, and when I returned, Kenji was relaxed, laughing freely. And then he said my name in Japanese. What followed were not angry words, they were casual, careless words spoken with comfort. He talked about how I had changed, how I had become predictable, how marriage had made me convenient rather than exciting. He joked that it did not matter because I would not understand anyway. His friends laughed, someone agreed, someone changed the subject, but inside me, something shifted. The words were not loud, they were not cruel, but they were honest, and honesty when unguarded can hurt the most. I kept my face calm, my hands steady, my smile intact, because years of silence had trained me well. In that moment, I was not angry, I was aware. I realized that the pain was not only in what he said, but in the fact that he felt safe saying it, believing I was unaware. When dinner ended, we drove home together, city lights passing quietly outside the window, music playing softly. On the radio, he asked if I was tired, and I said yes, because I truly was. That night I did not sleep, not because of rage, but because of clarity. I replayed his words again and again, not as wounds, but as information. I began to ask myself, when did I start disappearing? When did love turn into performance? When did being quiet become permission to be overlooked? Over the next few days, I watched him closely, his habits, his distance, his comfort, and I realized we were both living in a relationship that looked stable from the outside but had grown hollow inside. A week later, we hosted another dinner at our own home, the same people, the same laughter, the same assumptions. As conversation flowed and language shifted, Kenji once again spoke freely in Japanese, believing himself safe. And that was the moment I placed my fork down. I did not raise my voice, I did not accuse, I simply spoke in fluent Japanese. The room went silent. I repeated his words from the previous dinner, not to embarrass him, but to acknowledge them. I spoke about how language is not just communication, but respect, how silence does not mean ignorance, how listening does not mean absence. His face drained of color, not from anger, but from realization. For the first time, he truly saw me not as a quiet presence, but as someone who had been listening all along. That night we talked for hours, not to decide whether we would stay together or separate, but to understand where we had lost each other. Some conversations heal, others simply bring truth. And that truth changed everything. Our story did not end in perfection, it ended in honesty, boundaries, and self-respect. What mattered most was not the outcome of the marriage, but the moment I reclaimed my voice, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is listen quietly until the truth reveals itself. And then when the time is right, speak in a language they never expected but always deserved.